Imagine your daughter suddenly disappearing, reporting it to the police the next day, and then finding her decaying body 3 weeks later. This is the heartbreaking story of Elisa Lam and her family, who even after 9 years, still can't find justice for their daughter. Elisa Lam was a Chinese-Canadian student visiting Los Angeles when something very strange happened to her at the Cecil Hotel. To this day, police reports remain inconclusive. It's still unclear how Elisa died or who was responsible. This tragic story deserves to be explored further. Elisa was an only child, a quiet girl interested in fashion and literature. Her parents had moved from Hong Kong to Vancouver, Canada, where they opened an Asian restaurant and later helped manage the popular Chinese restaurant, Paul's. As a teenager, Elisa was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which alternates between depression and abnormally elevated moods called mania. Despite a long list of prescription medications, Elisa lived a peaceful life with her family, never exhibiting violence or suicidal tendencies. In 2010, 19-year-old Elisa began documenting her struggles with mental illness alongside pictures of models on her Blogspot blog, Etherfields. One of her entries mentioned spending 2 days in bed hating herself. Many of her posts focused on her depression, self-criticism for not running, overeating, and making excuses. In January 2012, Elisa wrote about a relapse that forced her to drop several classes, leaving her feeling utterly directionless. She titled the post, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life," quoting novelist Chuck Palahniuk. She used this quote as the epigraph for her blog. Elisa worried that her transcript, with so many withdrawals, would prevent her from continuing her studies and attending graduate school. A little over 2 years after starting her blog, she announced she was abandoning it for a new one on Tumblr, called Novel Nuovo, which mainly featured fashion photos, quotes, and a few personal posts. She continued to use the same quote as her epigraph. "We must remember Elisa as a person, not just a diagnosis." She was a smart girl studying at the University of British Columbia, with dreams for her future. Tragically, her life was cut short. None of these dreams came true. In January 2013, Elisa traveled to the United States, and her family never saw her again. On December 21, 2012, Elisa wrote about her plans to travel to Los Angeles and visit a school in Santa Clara, where she hoped to transfer. She even posted her itinerary on Tumblr and invited anyone interested to meet her along the way. On January 9, 2013, Elisa shared that she had created a new Facebook page for the 5th time due to paranoia. She added that this marked the beginning of her depression and that she was feeling very low. On January 22nd, Elisa arrived in San Diego via Amtrak and inner-city buses after getting lost in an airport and missing her flight. In the following days, Elisa visited the San Diego Zoo and posted pictures on her Tumblr. She also wrote, "Every now and then, I do something entirely impulsive and reckless, like tell a guy I just met that I like him." On January 26th, Elisa arrived in LA. That first night, she wrote on her Tumblr that she went out with some friends to a speakeasy. On January 28th, she checked into the Cecil Hotel, which had been rebranded as Stay on Main. The Cecil Hotel, located in downtown LA, was known for its affordability, but also for the significant homelessness problem in the area. While some floors were for visitors like Elisa, others were used for short or long-term accommodations for people living in the Skid Row area. Before Elisa's tragedy, the hotel already had a notorious reputation. It had a history of suicides, overdoses, and had hosted several high-profile serial killers. It was even the inspiration for American horror story, Hotel, which starred Lady Gaga as a vampire living in a penthouse. Elisa initially checked into a shared room, but after 2 days, her roommates complained about her odd behavior, prompting the hotel manager to move her to a private room on the 5th floor. On February 1st, Elisa was supposed to check out of the Cecil and head to Santa Cruz for the last leg of her journey, but she never did. Something horrible happened to Elisa, and the full reality of it is still unknown. When Elisa left Canada, Her parents established a rule that they would speak on the phone every day. Although she lost her phone once, Elisa did speak to them daily until February 1st. That day, Mr. and Mrs. Lam flew to LA and filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. The police searched for hundreds of clues over the next few days, but they were grasping at straws. The last person who saw Elisa was Katie Orphan, a bookstore manager who described Elisa as very lively and friendly while she was buying gifts for back home. The police searched all the rooms they could. As Sergeant Rudy Lopez explained, they could only search a room if they had probable cause to believe a crime had been committed. After desperately searching for clues and finding nothing, the LAPD went public on February 6th, inviting everyone to be on the lookout for Elisa and to come forward with any useful information. Another dreadful week followed, with Elisa's parents growing more worried every minute and the police becoming desperate for results. On February 14th, the police found a huge breakthrough: a strange security camera footage from the Cecil Hotel elevator. The video immediately gained worldwide attention. On the Chinese platform Youku, it received 3 million views and 40,000 comments in just 10 days. Many people found it too unsettling to watch to the end. The footage shows Elisa in a very agitated state, going in and out of a seemingly broken elevator. Was she having a bipolar episode? Had she forgotten to take her meds? Was she running away from someone? The police were at a loss as to how this footage connected to her disappearance, but they knew something was off. However, it wasn't until February 19th that they could close the case. On February 19th, a hotel worker was notified about strange-smelling water and low-pressure faucets. He went to the hotel rooftop and checked the water tanks, where he found the floating naked body of Elisa Lam. On the 21st, the coroner released a report stating that Elisa drowned by accident, primarily due to her bipolar disorder. By then, the case had gained worldwide attention, and many people were not satisfied with the coroner's report, refusing to believe that Elisa had accidentally drowned in a huge water tank on top of the hotel. Firstly, Cecil Hotel guests didn't have access to the rooftop. The doors and stairs leading to the roof were locked, with only staff having the passcodes and keys. Any attempt to force them open would trigger an alarm. So, unless someone took Elisa to the rooftop, she couldn't have gotten there herself. If someone did show her the way, it means she did not drown accidentally. Then, there's the issue of the CCTV elevator footage, which fueled countless discussions online. Apart from the disturbing sight of Elisa apparently talking to herself and being very agitated, many viewers argued that a whole minute was missing from the footage, suggesting someone tampered with it to hide evidence. However, due to the low resolution, it is impossible to prove whether the minute is missing or not. There were also claims that someone purposefully pixelated Elisa's mouth in the footage to conceal something she was saying. These claims were never addressed by the police. Then came the claims of supernatural forces possessing Elisa's body. But these claims overlooked the Cecil Hotel's horrifying history. In 1985, serial killer Richard Ramirez stayed at the Cecil Hotel and took the lives of 13 women. In 1991, Jack Unterweger was arrested as a homicide suspect, also inside the Cecil Hotel. There were numerous cases of guests taking their own lives in the hotel rooms, many of them being from Skid Row who had given up on life. The most frustrating part is that even though the Cecil Hotel has a long history of death and murder, none of it can be directly linked to Elisa to uncover the mystery of her death. The idea that she accidentally drowned in a water tank on a rooftop she didn't have access to seems implausible. A prevailing theory among those following her case was that Elisa was stalked, murdered, and then dragged to the rooftop so her killer could dispose of the body in a place where no one would look: the water tank. In her old Tumblr posts, Elisa expressed fear that her outspoken nature would get her into trouble, writing, "My mouth will be my downfall, and it will get me into trouble." Once she wrote, "I'm going out tonight. I really hope no creeper comes near me." It seemed possible that Elisa had a confrontation with someone at the hotel who then decided to come after her in the most horrible way. However, there is a lot of evidence against the murder theory. First, there were no signs of struggle or harm on Elisa's body. Second, none of her belongings were missing, ruling out robbery. Lastly, the LAPD reviewed all the CCTV footage inside the Cecil Hotel and found no one else around Elisa at the time of the elevator footage. The hotel staff were also questioned, but no one saw anything significant or any argument that would point towards a murder. Knowing Elisa's bipolar diagnosis, the police concluded that she was the master of her own demise. But something still did not add up, especially for the people following the case or her family. In June 2013, the chief LA coroner released a full toxicology report for Elisa's body, revealing that she didn't have any drugs in her system apart from the prescription drugs she was supposed to take. However, the report contradicted itself a few times. In the preface, the coroner wrote that the evidence was limited, as there wasn't a big enough blood sample provided. Then it said the police ruled out foul play, while also stating that a full review of the circumstances did not support intent to harm oneself. The manner of death was classified as an accident. So if Elisa did not take her own life and no one else killed her, then how did she accidentally climb into a massive water tank, which had no fixed access, lift a heavy lid, and fall into it? Even if the lid was open, getting on top of the tank was extremely difficult, including access to the rooftop. Ruling Elisa's death as an accident seemed far-fetched. In September 2013, Elisa's parents filed a wrongful death suit, arguing that the hotel failed to inspect and seek out hazards that presented an unreasonable risk of danger to Elisa and other guests. They sought damages and burial costs. However, the Cecil Hotel argued it could not have reasonably foreseen that Elisa might enter the water tanks. Since it remained unknown how she got there, no liability could be assigned. In 2015, the suit was dismissed, which was quite outrageous considering the hotel should be responsible for whatever happens inside it. Lastly, several people following Elisa's case noticed an uncanny similarity between her case and the 2005 horror film Dark Water. In the film, a mother and daughter move into a rundown apartment building. A dysfunctional elevator and discolored water gushing from the faucets eventually lead them to the rooftop water tank, where they discover the body of a girl who had been reported missing a year earlier. Anyone who has seen this movie might wonder if Elisa herself had seen it, or if whoever took her to the rooftop wanted to recreate a horrifying scene. One last detail points to the police closing Elisa's case. The coroner's report mentioned that Elisa had traces of antidepressants in her system, which were her prescribed medications. However, the anxiety stoppers and mood stabilizers were missing, indicating she hadn't taken all her meds for a day or two. In the case of bipolar disorder, not taking these meds can result in serious psychotic episodes, which can include hallucinations and cause people to do extreme things to avoid perceived threats. One psychiatrist described a patient having a bipolar psychotic episode as disorganized but appearing focused, with erratic pacing and hand movements due to hallucinations. Watching the CCTV elevator footage with this in mind, one can see Elisa looking focused while moving in a disorganized way and waving her hands unexpectedly. In recent years, an anonymous source came forward to the police speaking about a relative who also had bipolar disorder and took his own life by jumping into a pool. They added that this man was always drawn to water during his psychotic episodes, as water seemed to calm him. While there isn't any evidence yet connecting bipolar disorder to water, this uncanny case could explain Elisa's tragic end if she was seeking water during an episode. It's still unclear how Elisa got to the hotel's rooftop, or if the hotel's security was indeed as good as claimed, making the rooftop inaccessible. The hotel might have been covering itself against a lawsuit by saying Elisa couldn't have gone upstairs without a key or passcode. No matter the case, Elisa's life was cut short in the most tragic way, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death mean that her family will never get the closure they deserve. We'll keep you updated as more information becomes available. Stay informed, stay safe. Subscribe for more updates. Thank you for watching.